Dear Minister of Justice, this will probably be the last public act in which I participate with you as President of the Association of Portuguese Judges after 3 years and 8 months of institutional relationship. So, besides thanking you for your presence, I cannot but express a word of thanks for the always correct, loyal and attentive nature that you have dialogued with us when we were in agreement and also in the moments when we needed to disagree. The director of the Faculty of Lisbon of Law of the Catholic University, almost 40 years later, after having started university studies that brought me to the profession of a judge, even though at a different faculty. Let me take advantage of this situation to commend the academia, who in scientific study and the training of judicial careers have an essential role in strengthening culture for the respect of rule of law. From the seats of the University, Vice President of MEDAL, an institution that congregates 24 associations of 16 countries and represents more than 18,000 magistrates from throughout Europe. And on your behalf, let me give you a tribute to all directors of MEDAL, those of today and in the past, with a special greeting to Philippe César, the current president, for your sense of service, your spirit of solidarity, for your closeness to democracy, and for so much you have done in the defense of justice and European magistrates. The president of the Association of Public Prosecutors, even though coming from magistrates with different functions in administrating justice, it's up to us very often in these temporary clothes of union members that we both have. It is up to us, as I was saying, to say what must be said when many would prefer that we would keep quiet, to speak loud for those who don't want to listen to us, and say that what we should be given without any favor, and support criticisms that are unfair. We have hard shells. We are used to it. It's like that. On your behalf, let me highlight the work of the institution that you represent here in defending a very strong prosecutor's office, which has a prestige, autonomous and effective in action. Practically at the end of this 1.5 days of debate, as a representative of one of the 2 Portuguese associations of Magistrate Integrate MEDAL, and which helped to organize this conference, I have nothing little more to say than thank you. Thank you to the Catholic University, with a special mention for Professor Paulo Pinto Albuquerque for having hosted us so well at this place. Thank you to the board of MEDAL for the organization of this conference of high level. Thank you to the conference speakers, national and foreign, from the courts, the universities and politics, for the quality of your interventions. And thank you to all those who witnessed the works here in this room or at a distance through video conference, for your interest in such a vital question for the future of the peoples of Europe. But I must finish by saying 3 things that remain in my mind. The first one on the vices that can be hidden in realities that we all think are virtuous. The second, the contrary signal on the virtues that we may find in realities that many think are virtuous. And the third, on the lesson from all this, as in the story of Frederick II of Prussia and Sanssouci, to say that in Europe we still have judges in courts now in Luxembourg. Talking about the vices that we can find in virtues, to remember that what we see in laws are not consensual or irreversible, even in our virtuous democracy of the European space. As we see the recent examples of Hungary and Poland, democracy has within itself the destructive vices that can corrode it from within. We already knew this before from other unfortunate moments in history, but now we are being confronted once again with this harsh reality. Free and democratic elections can lead to power, authoritarian governments, enemies of democracies and freedoms. We cannot forget this in each one of our countries, because everywhere we have aspiring dictators disguised as democrats, looking for the right opportunity to hold on to power. I also spoke about the virtues of vices to highlight the unsubstitutable role of National and International Association of Magistrates in fighting for democracy. I don't know what it is like in your countries, dear colleagues of MEDEL and foreign guests, but here in Portugal, there are many people who make the judicial associativism diabolic as if it's something illegitimate and strange to sovereignty and democratic life, as if it were a subversive instrument of judicial power to take over political power. Those people should spend a minute to reflect on the following question that removes all logic to their thinking. Why isn't there all over the world one single democracy without free and interventive judicial association? And why, in the opposite way, we have throughout the world no authoritarian regime that does not ferociously persecute those judicial associations? So if you could have any doubts on the virtues of that associativism that many consider biased, recent times in Europe have shown that those doubts are nonsense. Those who have been in the front line from the first moment denouncing publicly attacks on independence of judicial power, not only in Poland but also in other countries. Who has mobilized to call to attention and alert consciousness of academia, politicians, Democrats, organizations of civil society and public opinion? Who has been tireless of knocking the door of European political institutions, asking to activate the formal control mechanisms that today are partially underway? We all know the answer. That work in benefit of judicial independence and rule of law started in the fight of national associations and internationals of magistrates, namely in MEDEL, but also in the European Association of Judges and other associations of judges throughout Europe. So let this be a lesson to those who don't believe in the work of judges and prosecutors. A last note on the fact that the European Court of the EU, having been called once again to decisive protagonism in the process of reconfiguration of European constitutionalism, trying to put into place the structuring principles of the EU, questions that seem to be internal problems of the countries, and we've discovered that they are, after all, of the interest of the EU and all member states. This is good news for the vitality of the European project, and it's bad news for the sections of liberal and populist movements that in several countries plan to dismantle the guarantees of rule of law and judicial independence. We're dealing, as we've seen in this conference, of a reality still under construction, full of unknowns, but everything points to the fact that we have established a new limit for the internal cases and the process of justice reform in which each of the EU countries, it's not enough to obey to the constitutions nor the internal laws. It's not enough to invoke the legitimacy of the democratic vote. We also need to comply with the fundamental principles established in the treaties that make the identity of the EU and to which each state was bound when they decided to adhere. Let me end with a friendly greetings to all judges that are not, don't let themselves be conditioned by threats, professional and threats. We know it's so much easier to bend the body, lower our head and obey, but it's more dignified to resist and fight. A good return to your countries with health, good hope, animation and better days. Thank you very much.